Hello! In this video, we will practice the concept of the box and whisker chat using an example. This example will be based on the analysis of the performance of an operative system. You know what is an operative system? Windows, it's an operative system. Here we can see different logos of previous versions. Some of them are very old. And also Linux or even the Mac has its own operative system. In this example, we will study the performance of an operative system, and this idea will be represented as the time required for processing certain service, and we will call this variable as TPS. TPS means time for processing some specific service. Could be, for instance, sending an email, or could be executing a search in the browser. So here we are measuring the time to provide a service, and we are measuring this variable in milliseconds. This is very important because we are analyzing in this unit, we are analyzing the description of one variable, one quantitative variable, maybe qualitative or quantitative. For quantitative numbers, we need to know exactly what is the definition of the variable and the units in which the variable has been expressed. So we can see this plot that shows the analysis of this variable time to process a service. And we can see that it's a box and whisker. So according to this chart, we need to analyze, we need to answer this question. What's the variable under study in this case? This is something we already explained. Is the time required to process a certain service? It's here you may see the response, but the variable is time. This is what we are measuring. And when you choose the variable, be careful because you need to select something which is a number in this case. If we are analyzing a box and whisker, this is because we are analyzing a quantitative variable. And our variable, you know, it's the TPS, time to process the service, and it's expressed in milliseconds. It's continuous, by the way, even that it was not a question. And this is because we can express time as some continuous number that includes decimals. Won't be the case, for instance, if we were talking about number of people that are using this operative system. You cannot have like 1.2 person, but here you may wait for 11.7 milliseconds. What's the name of this plot? I hope you already know. It's the box and whisker chat, box and whisker plot. For which types of variables is recommended? Of course, is recommended for continuous or discrete. In any case, numbers, quantitative variables, and if possible, with a high number of different values. For variables that have a small number of values, such as the same values again and again, could be obtained, but usually does not make sense because the median tend to be the same than the quartiles. So we can obtain some weird results where the box is very small or the whisker is not existing. So it's useful for numbers, discrete, continuous, with a high number of values. And now some specific questions about the information that's shown in the chart. It's very likely that you need to explain this information in the future for the assignment of the course. What can we say about the distribution of the variable analyzed? I will tell you what I see in the chart without reading the response. What we can see here is that the chart has a high degree of skewness. That means that it's not symmetrical. We can see it because this whisker is obviously longer than the whisker on the left of the chart. And also we can see the presence of outliers. There are outliers here, here, and here. And of course, we have an outlier here, which is going to be the maximum. And if we pay attention in the data, in the shape of the box, we can see that the line of the median is not exactly in the same place of the cross where the mean was located. So as you can see here, there is some gap between the median and the mean, and this is another evidence that we have a high degree of skewness. The distribution is not normal. It's nice to see how the median has been affected by the presence of these outliers. This is the overall evaluation of the box plot, but also I am sure all of you are able to identify that the minimum value is 0 because this is the end of this whisker, and of course the maximum value of this distribution is 50 something, 50 could be 57, 58. In this response we see 57, and do not be worried about whether it's 57, 58, I cannot see it exactly. No one expects that you are able to find the value perfectly. You just have to identify the main values, at least the 5 main values that you can observe in this box and whisker chart, which are minimum value 0, maximum value 57, even that it was identified as an outlier, it is still our maximum. And also first quartile, which is, I don't know exactly, could be 7, could be 8. Here in the explanation, as they have information coming from stat graphics, they were able to provide exactly the position of first quartile, which is 7.5, and also third quartile, which is 15.5. But if it was an assignment, if it was something printed in paper, or you are analyzing the chart in a graphical way, it would be perfectly fine, like first quartile is at 7 or 8, or third quartile it's 15, and so on. We're not worried about that. Of course, the distribution is positively skewed because we see this difference in the length of the right whisker, and of course we have some outliers. So this is what we see in the chart. By the way, the data may follow an exponential distribution. This is something we will explain later, but it's a bit advanced comment, some critical ideas. So for the moment, we won't try to write this type of sentences. What's interesting here in this box and whisker chart is this question that comes here. Which parameter would provide reliable information, that's very important, reliable information about the dispersion of data analyzed? So you know that we have 2 main parameters of central position that are mean and median, and also there are some equivalents with the dispersion. We have the standard deviation and the interquartile range. So as you can see here, and we have described, this box and whisker chart is highly skewed. We have presence of outliers, we have a high degree of skewness. So if we were talking about position, you know which would be the best value, the best parameter of position would be median, of course. And if we are talking about dispersion, you know that the best value of dispersion would be interquartile range, of course, not standard deviation, because the standard deviation is also affected by the presence of outliers. So the response to this question would be, of course, the interquartile range, and you know that the interquartile range is the width of the box, and it's the range of data that includes the central 50% of data. And we can obtain this width of the box as the difference between third quartile, first quartile. So in this case, as we have accurate values, would be 15.5, 2.5, so 30 more or less. So this is what we have learned about the box and whisker that provides the 5 summary number, which is minimum, maximum, median, first quartile, third quartile. And according to the shape, according to the information that we obtain about the skewness and the shape of the distribution, we can decide whether it's more reliable to work with the median, which is represented by the cross, or the mean, which is represented by the cross, or the median, which is represented by the line at the middle of the box. So with this, we finish this example about the box and whisker plot. Thank you for your attention.